What's the strongest piece of evidence you've seen of all that would suggest there really is a link between the two?
I would have to say it's something that I learned of just recently and having this new story, which is that in the mid-90s, a series of emissaries went from Afghanistan and earlier from Sudan to Baghdad in order to convince the Iraqi intelligence service to provide al-Qaeda with chemical weapons training in Afghanistan. According to my sources, those emissaries succeeded, and Iraqis did, in fact, help al-Qaeda in the teaching of the use of poison gas.
While many of us, including this host, took that reporting as gospel. Big mistake. Well, at least I did a real mea culpa and changed my thinking completely about these types of preemptive wars, specifically those in the Middle East, and ended up believing that they would make us weaker across the board, as they did. But Mr. Goldberg did not. Although years later he delivered kind of a semi-apology for his role in peddling this pro-invasion narrative, he nevertheless insisted on the dignity of the story, that original story. Now, the dignity of a story that ended up supporting a war that cost trillions of dollars and the lives of over 4,400 Americans? Such is the hubris of an unrepentant liberal interventionist. And this brings us back to Joe Biden. Why did Mr. Goldberg, after his huge Iraq war embarrassment, pull a stunt like this in the campaign's homestretch? To prop up the candidacy of the aging war hawk himself, Joe Biden, that's why. Now, Biden laughably has tried to claim that despite having voted for the war, he was against it almost soon as it started. Well, in reality, Biden was pushing for military intervention in Iraq 5 years before the invasion. This was a 1998 Foreign Relations Committee hearing.
Many of us believe here, as long as Saddam's at the helm, there is no reasonable prospect. You or any other inspector is ever going to be able to guarantee that we have rooted out, root and branch, the entirety of Saddam's program relative to weapons of mass destruction. The only way we're going to get rid of Saddam Hussein is we're going to end up having to start it alone, and it's going to require guys like you in uniform to be back on foot in the desert, taking taking Saddam down.
First of all, he's been in politics a long time, right? But before Biden won the nomination, his record on wars was actually beginning to catch up to him. Salon, which is a left-wing anti-Trump website, was incredulous that the party might actually nominate a war hawk like Biden to go up against Trump, who won in part by taking on the war hawks in his own party. And Biden's explanations weren't washing. What Biden did was to help ensure war happened while trying to wash his hands of responsibility for it. He helped build the car for Bush, filled it up with gas, saw that Bush was drunk, gave him license to do what he wanted. Eventually, Biden pretended he was shocked that the streets were littered with mangled bodies. Now, The Intercept, which is another anti-war, anti-Trump site, has also called out Biden and the Democrats in general for their own long history of supporting war as a preemption. Intoxicated by the maelstrom of crises, both domestic and global, there's been little accounting for these tragedies. The impact of the wars did not even bear mention at the Democratic National Convention, but in the end, a catastrophe of this scale can't just be brushed aside.